All right, welcome back to ABA Exam Review and the continuation of our RBT practice questions series, where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Be sure to check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Dino is disrupting the class again, so Miss Rogers tells Dino to leave the room and go to the principal's office as part of her timeout plan. Dino spends an hour in the principal's office. The next day, Dino is back to disrupting the class. The consequence for Dino's behavior is what? All right, so we have a consequence question, and when we have consequences, we think of extinction, reinforcement, and punishment. Those are our three principles, and those are our three primary consequences. In this case, we're looking at Dino's behavior. So what is Dino doing? Well, he's disrupting the class. So as a result, Miss Rogers tells Dino to leave the room and go to the office as part of a timeout plan. So if Miss Rogers is putting Dino in what she would consider timeout, what is Dino doing? Well, he's escaping the room. He's leaving the room. So by escaping the room, what is Dino accomplishing? Well, he's getting out of class. And so as a result, how does Dino's behavior change? Well, he spends an hour in the principal's office, and yet the next day he disrupts the class again. So was Dino punished? Well, no. If Dino was punished, his behavior would have decreased. Reinforcement increases, punishment decreases. So even though Miss Rogers believes she's putting Dino in timeout as punishment, it's clearly not having that effect on Dino's behavior because Dino is still disrupting the class. So we know the consequence is going to be reinforcing. Well, is it positive or negative reinforcement? Well, the consequence for Dino disrupting the class is he escapes class. He gets to leave the room. So since he's escaping, he's removing class, he's getting out of class, the consequence is negative. Dino's escaping. So the consequence for Dino's behavior is going to be B, negative reinforcement. Remember, things like escape and avoidance are associated with negative reinforcement. And we know it's reinforcement because Dino's behavior didn't decrease, but it continued. Your supervisor holds a meeting with you, a behavior technician, to train you on your client's new behavior plan. You demonstrate that you can implement the plan correctly during the meeting. The supervisor then asks you to explain the plan to the parent next time you're at their house. Is this acceptable? All right, so we have a role question, as in what is your role as an RBT, and borderline ethics question. So what do we have here? Because the question wants to know, is it acceptable? Well, you have a meeting with your supervisor and they train you on a behavior plan. You show you can implement the plan correctly during the meeting, so you demonstrate your competence. Remember, we always want to be competent in whatever we do. We also want to be qualified in whatever we do. After you demonstrate your competence, the supervisor says, can you explain the plan to the parent next time you're at their house? Now, are RBTs allowed to train parents? Yes, but it depends. If you take it upon yourself as an RBT to train a parent and you haven't been given permission, that is not allowed. But if you are the RBT and you're given permission, such as your supervisor asks you to explain the plan, then you're allowed to because you've already demonstrated your competence, which is important, and now you've been given permission. So is this acceptable? A, no behavior technicians are not allowed to provide parent training. With most things, it depends. Now, with ethics on the exam, you want to be very black and white, the letter of the law. But still, in this situation, it all depends. You've been given permission, you've shown competence. B, yes, behavior technicians are always allowed to explain treatment plans. That's not necessarily true. If the plan is complex, if you've never implemented the plan, if the plan is brand new, the supervisor may not want you to explain the plan. They may want to explain the plan themselves. C, yes, you were given permission by your supervisor. Absolutely. So you were told or you were asked to explain the plan to the parent. Now, if you were to say as a technician, I'm not comfortable, that's also okay. But you have permission. D, no, the supervisor should explain the plan first to the parent. Not necessarily. That's up to the supervisor. With many technicians, the longer you're in the field and the more trust you gain, you start to gain more responsibilities and you're given more leeway and permission on what you can and can't do, which is a great place to be as an RBT. The important piece here is you demonstrated competence and you were given permission. Therefore, this is acceptable. Jeff wants to better understand how satisfied his customers are with his team of technicians. Jeff puts together a list of questions and sends out the questions to his customers. As customers send the questions back, Jeff analyzes the data. What type of assessment is Jeff conducting? Let's think about this. We're looking at Jeff and his assessment. What has Jeff done to assess his customers and their satisfaction? He put together a list of questions and sent the questions to his customers. Now, what does that sound like to you? To me, it sounds like a survey. And when we're talking surveys and we're talking scales and we're talking questionnaires and interviews, what type of assessments are we talking about? We're discussing indirect assessments. With indirect assessments, we're not actually observing the behavior. Jeff isn't observing these customers. He's just asking their opinion. And they're telling them his opinion. It's a very indirect way to gather data. Is it okay? Sure. We use indirect assessments all the time. Is it as good as direct assessments? Not really. Is it an ABC narrative recording? Well, Jeff isn't taking antecedents and consequences, right? He's not observing and writing down what he sees. He's getting his customer's opinion. It's not a functional analysis for sure because Jeff isn't manipulating antecedents and consequences to determine a function. And it's not a preference assessment. Jeff isn't assessing the preference of his customers. And be careful. Just because he's asking how satisfied his customers are with the technicians, he's not conducting a preference assessment for his customers. That might be, would you rather get a text or a phone call? That might be more of a preference assessment. In this case, he's not doing that. He's indirectly assessing his customer satisfaction level. Following his indirect assessment, he should, with good practice, take it one step further and try to conduct some sort of direct assessment with the customers. That might even be listening in on phone calls, for example. Understand indirect and direct are different. Indirect, we're not observing. Direct, we are. And you always, always, always want to have a direct assessment when designing a plan. Consider the following data taken on a student's spelling behavior. A 1 indicates a correct spelling, while a 0 indicates an incorrect spelling, and a X indicates no response. What percentage of opportunities did the student spell a word correctly? Identify first, what measurement are we talking about? We're talking about percentage of opportunities. What does that mean? That means out of the total number of opportunities given, how often did it occur? Think about that and the difference between trials to criterion. With trials to criterion, we set a mastery criterion and we measure how long it takes to get there. With percentage of opportunities, we're measuring, given the number of opportunities, how often did it occur? So understand the difference between those two. So with percentage of opportunities, first thing you want to do, how many opportunities did we have? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 opportunities. 9 total opportunities. What percentage of those opportunities did the student spell the word correctly? And we know a 1 indicates the correct spelling. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 correct out of our 9. So what are we going to do? We're going to take 4, divide that by 9, and then we're going to get 0.44. And then we can multiply that by 100, and we're going to get 44%, as you can see in our breakdown here. This is a simple percentage question. On the exam, you need to know averages, totals, percentages. If you do not understand how to find a percentage, that's okay. Work on it until you do. Because if you get a question where you're finding a total, an average, or a percentage, that should be a very easy question for you to answer. It should be an absolute layup, so to speak. In this case, all we've done, we've taken the correct word responses, which was 4, divided by total number of opportunities, multiplied by 100, it gives us 44%. That is the percentage of opportunities the word was spelled correctly. The preschool teacher taped several different shapes to the wall, including circles, triangles, squares, and diamonds. She then tells her class to go and find as many triangles as possible and put them in a bucket. Class is doing what when they are identifying triangles? All right, interesting question here. We're looking at the class who is identifying triangles. Now, what context are they identifying these triangles? Well, the teacher is taping all these shapes to the wall. We have circles, triangles, and squares. So if we think about circle, square, triangle, circle, square, triangle, we need what? We need the, and diamonds, and we need the class to go identify the triangles. And so when you're looking at all these shapes and you can pick out the triangles, how are you doing that? What skill are you using? Are you using response differentiation? Well, no, because we're using the same response over and over again, which is identifying triangles and putting them in a bucket. With response differentiation, that would be if that first the class needed to point at the triangle, and then afterwards they needed to circle the triangle, and then they needed to grab the triangle. Those are different responses. That's response differentiation. What the class is doing is stimulus discrimination. They can now tell the difference between all these different shapes. They're discriminating between the different shapes. That's the difference between response differentiation and stimulus discrimination. Response differentiation, you look at the responses. Stimulus discrimination, we're looking at the stimuli. It isn't maintenance because the teacher is working on this. We don't know when teaching stopped or she's still teaching it, so we can't say it's maintenance. And it isn't overgeneralization because the class is doing what they're supposed to do. Overgeneralization typically occurs when something happens too often or at the wrong time. In this case, the class, when identifying triangles, are engaging in B, stimulus discrimination. Thank you for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Subscribe. As always, work hard, study hard. We'll see you soon.